Everyone doing good? Let's see.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Everyone doing good? Trying to stay warm.
Yep. Yeah, it's been very, very cold. And apparently the cold is due to global warming, because the ice caps are melting in the North Pole. So apparently some of the warm air and cool air are mixing and causing these storms or something. Allah Alam. Okay, so let's get started. Today we have a very interesting class. I think you guys will like it. Um, okay. Okay, everyone ready? Everyone here? Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا كريم. Okay, so I think last class we discussed all the things that we're discussing in the last class, this class, and then maybe the next two classes as well. These are sam'iyat. Sam'iyat are the things that have been transmitted to us from the Prophet ﷺ, about the hereafter, about the angels, all these different things that we can't necessarily use a logical argument to establish, right? We rely on witness testimony. Okay. Um, and some ayat you'll see, generally speaking, in the works of kalam, in the works of theology, you only include things that are very, very certain. So when you're arguing, at least with making a belief that has to be believed by every Muslim, okay, it's like a belief that is fard, you can only use a very strong evidence, right? And the reason for this is that, let's say you have a very weak hadith. Now, that weak hadith has been transmitted by maybe one person, maybe two people, right? And it contains a matter of belief. How is it possible that that matter of belief, if you didn't know that matter of belief, it would be kufr? How is that possible? That means the religion is not preserved, right? That only two people knew this super important detail that the entire ummah doesn't know, right? And an example of that is the hadith of the slave girl, when the Prophet asked her, "Where is Allah? Ain Allah?" and the slave girl pointed upwards. Okay, and this method of questioning, we don't. None of the Sahaba did it to each other, right? The Prophet never asked any other Sahaba, "Ain Allah? Where is Allah?" Right? So we have this lone hadith. Maybe this incident did happen, but this cannot become like a core of our aqidah that we go around asking, Ain Allah, where is Allah? Right? Because we don't have practice of the Sahaba or authentic hadiths that reach the level of evidence that we want to make this somehow a key part of our aqidah. Okay, so we only admit strong evidence in the works of kalam. But then there are other beliefs we call the what do you call the furu, the branches of Aqidah. Okay. And in the branches of Aqidah, these are the details. And in the details, you can use weak hadiths. You can use single narration hadiths and things of this nature, because these are the details. And then in the details, people might disagree. For example, Are there four angels that carry the throne of Allah? Are there six angels that carry the throne of Allah? I mean, these are not details that will take a person out of of Islam or even put them into bid'ah. These are just details that we're sort of guessing at this point, right? Based on the evidence that we have. Okay. Um, where exactly is Jannah? Is it past Sidratul Muntaha? Where is hellfire? Is it below the seven heavens? Is it above the seven heavens? So these are like details of Aqidah that are not necessarily um any issues if you disagree in them. Okay. And in these areas we do use uh less than certain evidences. Okay. So that's the difference between the sam'iyat and the rest of, ilahiyat and nubuwat. For ilahiyat and nubuwat, we only use strong hadith. We're not going to take a weak hadith and use it to establish something about Allah, right? That every single person has to know. That's not correct. That's not right. That means if you don't know this one weak hadith, then you're not Muslim. Okay? You guys understand that point? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's not that we don't use weak hadiths. We have hadith Qudsi, we have all these things, but we don't make them a core of our aqidah in the sense that if somebody didn't know it, then their iman would be defective. Okay? So if you never heard the hadith of the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam questioning the slave girl, Ain Allah, where is Allah? Okay, now you heard the hadith. Now you're like, okay, this must be a core of my faith. So you go around asking people, Ain Allah, where is Allah? No, this is not right. Okay. So you can't take some a weak evidence and then somehow make it a core of your faith. Right? Maybe this happened, sure. I mean, this is an exception. Okay. Okay. So anyway, today we're going to discuss the Mi'raj. The Mi'raj of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I think last week, we had the anniversary of the Mi'raj. And then the throne of Allah and the angels. And in order to discuss this topic, I mean, we could just sort of just read through it and talk about the hadith, but I just wanted to make it more interesting, give you guys more context of Islamic cosmology, we call it, right? Our understanding of the universe of existence. And we're gonna first discuss the different worlds, the awalim. Okay? The awalim. And the different worlds are, you can say, like maybe different dimensions, different levels of existence, different I don't know, like different types of things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in the universe, right? And this will give us some ability to understand the Mi'raj and all these other things that has happened in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? So usually when uh so let's do a tiny bit of philosophy. I won't get too detailed, right? When you look at a cup, okay? Let's say you have a cup, you have your water bottle, whatever it may be. You can ask many different questions, okay? The first question is what is it made out of? Okay? What is it made out of? And your answer could be ceramic, your answer could be glass, right? Your answer could be aluminum, not aluminum, or steel, or whatever it may be. Okay, metal. So what is it made out of? This is the material cause. Okay. The second question could be what is the form that it's taking? Or there's this material there, there's this ceramic, there's this, I don't know, metal. What form is it taking? Okay. So the answer to that is a cup. It's taking the form of a cup. So this is the formal cause. Okay? The formal cause. So if I just had a hunk of metal in front of me, well, there is no formal cause. It's just a hunk of metal. But as soon as I put a form on it, I make it into a cup. Now there's a formal cause of cup. Okay? And then you can ask who created it? Who actually made it? So, and then you see the guy, working on the piece of ceramic, You say, okay, let's say Omar. Omar made it. So he is the efficient cause. And then we can ask, why did he make it? Why did he make this thing with ceramic and go through all this trouble? And your answer would be, well, he wants to drink. He wants to use it to drink. That would be the final cause, the purpose, the ghaya, the whole reason for why it exists. Okay? So in the world, most of the things, actually all of the things that we see, they have a material cause. Okay? They're made up of stuff. They're made up of atoms, of I don't know, quarks, whatever it may be. This alam is called alam al-mulk. Okay, it's the realm of matter, time, and space. It's the realm in which things, they have tarkib, they have composition. They're made up like puzzle pieces, right? We're all like made up like puzzle pieces of atoms, of all these different types of things that's in our bodies, right? So we have a material cause. If you were to ask what is the material cause of human beings, you would put maybe like, water. I don't know, like what are our muscles made of? Any biologists here? Anyone who studied biology? So you would say, our material causes would be those elements that are making us up, right? So Alam al-Mulk is that realm. That it's the realm in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things with his command. Yes, kun fayakun, but he makes them from something he already made. Okay? He makes them from matter, from madda, from soil, steel, like things that you can touch and feel, the realm of time and space. And in this alam, we have alam al khalq, which is everything that we experience, the observable universe, the seven heavens, right? Trees, plants, all that stuff. And then there's going to be alam al jabarut. What is alam al jabarut? In alam al khalq, can you disobey Allah? You can disobey Allah, right? In alam al jabarut, jabarut means the overpowering, right? The one who has complete control. In alam al jabarut, the only thing that will be manifesting in that realm is Allah's complete power and ownership of everything, like in a very literal way, right? Not in a way in which you have to sort of arrive at it through reflection and contemplation. In Alam al-Jabarut, and these are the realms of the hereafter, right? These are the realms of the hereafter, the day of judgment, right? On the day of judgment, I mean, you can't really disobey Allah. That's it. It's over, right? That illusion of free will that we had, it's gone. The true nature of existence will be made manifest. Hellfire, right? Jannah, and no one will have a choice at that point. Okay, so this is Alam al-Jabarut. Okay, so that's Alam al-Mulk. And then we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating things without any type of material cause. Remember, we talked what a material cause is, right? Without any type of pre-existing, sorry, not pre-existing, astaghfirullah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the matter as well, right? But it's not a realm in which you can touch, see, hear, or feel. Okay? It doesn't have a material cause. And this is called Alam al-Malakut. Alam al-Malakut. It's the realm of spiritual entities and meanings. Okay? And in this alam, there's something called alam al-amr. Alam al-amr. It's the realm of Allah's command. Okay? Lahul khalqu wal amru. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that for him is creation and amr. Okay, what is this amr that Allah is talking about? Okay? قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. The ruh, the human soul, is not from min khalqi Rabbi, it's not from Allah's creation, it's from min amri Rabbi, from Allah's command. Okay, what's the difference here? Right? This is what the difference is. That there's some alam, there's some world, some existent dimension in which it's not affected by matter, time, or space. And it's not made up of stuff. It's not made up of things. Okay? And this realm is called Alam al-Amr. Okay? And traditionally speaking, you wouldn't the mutakallimun wouldn't really discuss this, right? This is coming from Sufi cosmology. And because what they've done is they're trying to understand the different realms of existence by looking through the hadiths, by looking through the verses of the Quran, and trying to sort of figure out why these different realms are mentioned. And for example, the Prophet ﷺ mentions in a dua, right? Uh, Subhana dhil malakuti wal jabarut. Subhanallah to the one who owns the malakut and the jabarut. Okay, what is the malakut and the jabarut then? Right? So that they look through the hadiths and the different descriptions of the soul and things of this nature and sort of come up with this theory. Okay? So in Alam al-Amr, the human soul is actually it's a substance that is from the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah creates it without any type of um, perceivable matter uh, component to it. Okay. And the human soul is also interesting because, as we know, it's the source of life, right? And Nursi has something very interesting to say about that, which is that every single thing that we see in our world that happens, right? It has some type of material cause and it has some type of efficient cause. Meaning, if for example, if somebody threw a ball and it broke the window, okay, we would say just out of sort of what do you call? Just out of reflex that what broke the window? The ball broke the window, right? So we see an efficient cause there. Or you put water and sunlight and these other things, and then suddenly, the plant is blooming, right? Nursi says that there's one exception, only one exception. There we can't for the life of us figure out any efficient cause for life, right? There's nothing, no combination of stuff that we can put together and then suddenly create life. We can't do it. That's the only exception that we run into. And we can't determine just by looking at something, is it alive? Is it not alive? We can't determine it, right? We can only determine it based on our previous experience. Like for example, a great example of this is if I created an AI robot that perfectly mimics a human being, if you looked at it and it interacted with you, could you tell if it's alive or dead? Could you
No.
tell? You couldn't. You couldn't. So, but for example, if you looked at a plant and it didn't get sunlight for, like weeks, could you tell?
Yep.
Yeah, because again, every single thing around us has these cause and effect relationships that Allah has put in them. And from these, we deduce the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sure. But then Allah put something special in creation, which is life. It's a creation because it's from the soul, right? It's a creation min amri rabbi. There's no intermediary, nothing that you can pinpoint to. It's just from his creation. And you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't feel it, and you can't link any type of other causes in the world to it, right? No matter how hard you try. I mean, people have been trying for centuries to invent life or, uh, do all that, Frankenstein, do all that type of stuff, right? But it'll never happen because there are no efficient or material causes for life because it's from alam al-amr. It's from the direct command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So this is the speciality of life and why life is one of the biggest proofs of the existence of Allah. Okay, so any questions about these two realms? This picture is a bit misleading. I mean, it kind of shows you that the soul is like a will-o-wisp of some kind. It's not really, right? One of the arguments that the soul is it's not some type of material entity is that the soul is the seat of knowledge. The soul is the seat of knowledge, unveiling, disclosure, perception. If that were the case, then let's say um, the soul is made up of like some type of physical matter, right? If that were the case, then the soul would act like a hard drive. So the you would need, I mean, how many things can human beings know? Potentially. What do you guys think? Is there like an upper cap to like how much you can know and understand about the world?
Not really.
Not really. No. Actually, none, right? None. Human beings are infinitely, like you could just keep learning forever. Okay, so if the soul's like a hard drive, right? I mean, how is it possible to fit an infinite amount of space into, like, I don't know, if you say it's in the brain, right? In this piece of meat. It's impossible, right? So it would mean like if you know, okay, my cat is green. So this piece of information would be some type of physical thing in the soul, in the brain or somewhere in your body, right? And then you'd be filling yourself with this every single thing that you learn, it'll be like a piece of physical information in your body, right? So that's kind of, it doesn't seem like a acceptable idea, right? So this is why the soul has to be something that's kind of immaterial. Okay, it has to be something that's immaterial, that grasps things all at once. Okay, and it's grasping of things. It's not like a hard drive. It's not like something physical. Okay. All right. Now the malakut. Remember, we said it's not sort of a physical realm, and but it's the realm of meaning and forms. Okay, it's the realm of the soul of spiritual entities, but it's also the realm of meanings. If you look at something that's physical, if you look at, let's say, a flower or a tree or something of this nature, if you don't have this capacity for meaning, what you're going to see in front of you are just atoms or just stuff. There's nothing that's special in there, and same thing with human beings. Okay. Same thing with human beings. If you don't see human beings as something that's valuable, you're just gonna see a hack of flesh, right? A pound of flesh that you could do whatever you want with, and that this is what the biggest criminals. Some of those criminals have been exposed lately. I don't know if you've been following the news, but this is what the biggest criminals that's how they view other human beings, as these instruments, just these pounds of flesh that, you know, you could sort of do whatever you want with, right? This is why one of the most basic understandings of belief, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, that they believe in the ghaib, they believe in the unseen. Tell me, all of us believe in one thing that is unseen, even if we're atheists. In our everyday interaction, we believe in one thing that is unseen. You can't see it when you're interacting with your brothers and sisters. And what do you think that is?
Gravity?
No, no, not gravity. Gravity doesn't exist. When you're interacting with another fellow human being, what's the unseen part that you're seeing, that you're believing in? Are you just interacting with a meat suit?
The life?
Yes, yes. You are interacting with a human soul, right? You're interacting with a human soul. So, because you're interacting with a human soul, you have this belief, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, a belief in the ghaib, that the person in front of you has a soul, right? And the criminals and people of that nature, they don't really care about this idea of the soul, right? So all of us believe this as something that is unseen. So there's this realm of meanings and forms and spiritual realities. Okay. So and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about reflecting on the mulk, reflecting on like physical creation, the stuff that we see in front of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't they look at the camel, how it's look at, right? Ila, look at the camel and how it's been created. So from the features that you see in the camel and so on, like you get some type of wisdom from it, and this is the reflection pointing you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, most of us, actually all of us, right? we can't see the malakut. Remember, we said Allah can be seen. Anything that exists can be seen. Remember, we said that before? Okay, we're going to apply this principle now. Can you actually see the spiritual, non-material realm? Can you actually see it? What do you guys think? Can you see this spiritual, non-material realm?
No.
In our dreams, right?
Remember the principle we talked about last class. Anything that exists can be seen. So can we see it?
Yes.
Yes, we can, right? If Allah gave us the ability, we'd be able to see each of our souls. We'd be able to see the actual meanings in creation. We'd be able to see all of that. Okay? So how? We don't know, but we just know the principle. Anything that exists can be seen, right? So for us, we can't see the malakut. Okay. But we can experience the malakut through reflection. Through reflection. So and this the proof of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Don't they look into the malakut of the heavens and the earth? Looking into versus looking at, right? Uh, when you say looking at, you're looking at something physical in front of you. When you're looking into something, you're looking beyond it. You're looking at the meanings, right? You're trying to process what it could mean. You're trying to experience in an indirect way. Okay? So, أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَأَنْ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ أَجَلُهُمْ فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So don't they look into the deep meanings of the heavens and the earth and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. وَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, and it is وَأَنْ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ أَجَلُهُم. And perhaps their ending has basically arrived. So which word, which type of warning will they accept, right? Which type of warning or which type of argument will they be content with in order to believe in Allah? Okay, now this is for most of us, that we can experience the malakut in this indirect way. Now, there are some prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the malakut to. They actually saw the malakut. Proof of this, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Right? And in that way, we showed Ibrahim alayhi salam the malakut of the samawati wal ard. وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. And so that he would become the ones who are absolutely firm in their conviction. Okay, so this is a proof that we can actually see the malakut. Right? And remember, the realm of malakut is the realm of spiritual meanings and forms. Okay? All right, and then there's the highest realm, the most unknowable, the most amazing realm, and that is the realm of the divine presence, right? The realm of the divine presence. What is this realm? It's the realm of the uncreated divine attributes and the unknowable divine essence, right? So how is it possible to even go to this realm or experience this realm? Nothing can experience this realm except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the insan al-kamil, the perfect human being. So we'll see in the Mi'raj where the Prophet ﷺ got to experience this realm. Okay. I mean, don't mind these pictures. I mean, this is from Dante's Inferno. I used to really like Dante's Inferno, but then there are passages. There's one passage in there that is disrespectful to the Prophet ﷺ. So I got rid of those books. But comparatively speaking, like Dante, the famous Italian poet, he copied he copied the whole structure of the Inferno from Isra wal Mi'raj. Okay? And there's proof of this. There's a very famous Spanish priest, Catholic Jesuit priest, who compared, the manuscripts, the stories of the Isra and Miraj circulating in Italy at the time, right? Circulating in Italy and Paris and Spain, these legendary tales of, this prophet from Arabia who went to the heavens and so on. And Dante read one of these things and, he decided to write a poem. Okay. So one of the foundational poems of Christendom, of the Catholic religion, this is one of the foundational poems of the Catholic Church, right? They love Dante's Inferno. Is actually just a fan fiction of Isra wal Miraj, right? Anyone familiar with Dante's Inferno at all, or no? No one? Okay.
A little.
Yeah, I read it in college, so. But yeah, so it's a fan fiction of Isra wal Miraj. Just put that in your mind. Okay, so now let's go to Al-Isra wal Miraj. These images are from this I think um it's an Ottoman miniatures, like a manuscript called Miraj Nama or something like this. And I don't know, I just always find it funny, but the colors are very interesting, right? The colors are very nice, but I just find it quite funny. Like look at the way that they drew the faces and so on. But anyway, okay, so let's now speak about the Isra wal Mi'raj. Now, I wanted to start the discussion on the Isra by proving miracles and so on and so forth, but I think we already did a part of that a long time before, and I don't want to go into too much philosophy at the moment. We have so much to cover, right? And remember that there are things that are necessary, there are things that are possible, and there are things that are impossible. Within the realm of possibility, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do anything, right? And scientific laws operate within the realm of possibility. Okay, so an apple always falls from the tree because there's a law, there's a habit of God that we call gravity, right? And that habit of God that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always creates things where large objects attract things to itself because of a depression in space time, whatever you want to call it, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this thing to act in this way all the time. Okay. But can that regularity be broken? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we say it's a mu'jiza. It's a miracle. Okay. It's kharqul aada. It's a complete break of the natural order. Okay. And it can never happen unless to a prophet. Unless to a prophet or a saint or people like this. Okay. So Isra wal Mi'raj was an example of this. So the Isra wal Mi'raj, the reason this shows up in the books of Aqidah is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Isra in the Quran, in Surah Al-Isra. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-harami ila al-masjid al-aqsa. So all praise, Subhanallah, Subhanallah is not all praise. I'm forgetting how to translate it. Like, um, glory be to the one who made his servant travel by night from Masjid al-Haram to the furthest masjid, Masjid al-Aqsa, the furthest masjid. Um, so the Isra, believing in the Isra is fard. It's fard. So if somebody denies that Isra happened, okay, then this could be grounds for kufr. This could be grounds for kufr because this would be denying a literal verse of the Quran. Okay. Now, the Mi'raj is not mentioned except by allusion. You guys know what allusion is? Um, sorry, except indirectly. Forgive me for using random words. Uh, it's only mentioned indirectly, right? The Mi'raj. So, for example, in Surah An-Najm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَوْحَى إِلَى عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى, and so on and so forth, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drew him close, right? Um, on that night, and he revealed to him what he revealed, and so on and so forth, right? So, denial of the Mi'raj is a big bid'ah, is a big bid'ah. And another important consideration is that the Isra and the Mi'raj happened to the Prophet ﷺ literally. Literally, whatever that means. Okay? I mean, how do we understand it, right? How is it possible? The Prophet ﷺ, when he returned from the Mi'raj, he was about to do some wudu, right? So the water, the water was falling from a container. And when the Prophet ﷺ came back from the Mi'raj, he said that it's as if only a single drop fell. So we're talking about some type of time-space distortion that has happened, right? And how do we even understand it, right? So, but what we have to affirm is that the Prophet himself, it wasn't some type of dream, it wasn't some type of hallucination. It was he himself. He made this journey. Okay, he made this journey. So let's give some context. The context of the Isra and Mi'raj comes in probably the most difficult year of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, where he's lost Khadija radiallahu an, who's been, one of the greatest supporters of the message. Khadija radiallahu an, the amount she has sacrificed actually for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ is she ends up sacrificing her own life because she goes with him to the boycott. When Banu Hashim was boycotted by the Meccans, they had to be driven into living, next to the mountains, and they couldn't get any food, right? They had to eat even leaves to survive. And Khadija radiallahu anh went with him. And this episode of almost, I believe it was 2 years, please correct me if I'm wrong. It it basically destroyed her health, right? It destroyed her health. She was already a little bit elderly at that point. And, when the boycott was over, her body gave in and she passed away, right? So you can see not only did she absolutely sacrifice all of her wealth, she had tremendous amounts of wealth. She sacrificed it all to fund the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because when the Prophet started his mission, there are no employment opportunities anymore. He is hated by his people and he is rejected and they're trying to stop him. So he's not going to have any type of employment opportunities. Khadija radiallahu anha is financing him, right? So she, uh, you know, gives away all of her wealth in the service of Islam. And at the end, she gives away her life at the service of Islam. So this is why Khadija radiallahu anha, she is one of the four greatest women of human history, right? And also the only wife of the Prophet ﷺ that an angel spoke to directly, right? That Jibreel alayhi salam gave salams to her. Okay. So this is another proof, by the way, that if you define a prophet as somebody that Jibreel alayhi salam communicates with, what will be the problem here?
He wasn't a prophet.
She wasn't a prophet, exactly, right? So we have to find another definition of a prophet, right? Maybe, yes, Jibreel salam communicates with and brings some type of revelation, Sharia, or something like this, right? Um, I don't think we had that discussion, but we can in the future, inshallah. Okay. So yeah. So the Prophet ﷺ lost Khadija, radiallahu an, and on top of that, the Prophet ﷺ lost his political support. His his uncle Abu Talib. Abu Talib was protecting the Prophet ﷺ. The only reason Quraysh could not kill the Prophet ﷺ was because of Abu Talib, because he was a leader of Banu Hashim, and he was so respected that if they killed the Prophet ﷺ, he would be able to start a war against the other tribes. Okay, but now that Abu Talib was gone, now it was fair game. It was fair game. And so the Quraysh are now plotting to assassinate the Prophet ﷺ in a way that would save them from any type of blood feud. And one of the ideas that they come up with is all of the tribes together will kill him. So if all of the tribes together killed him, then Banu Hashim would have to fight all of the tribes. Okay? And the other tribes that will try to ally with Banu Hashim were like, okay, it's not worth let's just let this one go. It's not worth fighting, all these other tribes, right? So so that's what's happening. So it's a very, very incredibly difficult time for the Prophet ﷺ. In this difficult time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the Prophet ﷺ the greatest gift, which is to see Allah, obviously, but also to see the nature of all of existence. Okay? And to see all the different heavens, and also to get the greatest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever gave to the Prophet ﷺ, in terms of worship, which is as-salah. As-salah. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ says the salah is the mi'raj of the mu'min. As-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. Okay? So that if you want to experience the mi'raj, then perfect the salah. Because the salah was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, during this time, the 5 daily prayers. Okay? So the journey begins from the house of Hani. Hani is the Prophet's cousin. So it's the sister of Imam Ali, radiallahu anh. And so at that time, the Prophet was sleeping, in a large bed, and Hamza, his uncle, and I think Jafar radiallahu anh is his cousin. I forget. I think, yeah, Jafar radiallahu anh is his cousin. Okay, so the Prophet sitting between them, and Jibril alayhi salam comes, right? He hears somebody. Jibril alayhi salam comes, makes him awake, and basically plucks him from between the two of them. And now he's standing in the courtyard of the house, and these angels come, and they come with a tray. They come with, you can see in the picture. Can you guys see that? Actually, no, no, this is different. This is the process of, um, see, they blurred out the face, and I'm not sure why they put like the Super Saiyan like aura around him. I just always find like some of these miniatures a little bit funny because I don't understand the logic between some of these things. Um, and they made the Burak like the face of a human. So this is like a weak narration. I mean, there's nothing to substantiate that, right? But anyway, the process is taken, and his chest is split open and his heart is washed. His heart is taken out and his heart is washed. So this event of cleansing the heart happens 4 times. There's a fifth, but that's not authentic. 4 times in the life of the Prophet. So the first time obviously is when? Do you guys know the most famous incident of his chest being split?
I
When
think he
he
was
was
very young. Young.
When he was very young, right? Around I think 4 years old or something like that, where the Prophet was with Ayman, if I recall correctly. Sorry, Halima, right? In the desert, and he was playing with his step siblings, and 2 men come. They basically tie him down, and and split his chest, and take out a black clot, which the Prophet describes as hazum min shaitan, right? It's the portion of shaitan. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean like the Prophet had a portion of, like, I don't know, satanic desires in his heart or something like this? Well, not necessarily, because the min here, hazum min shaitan, you could interpret it as hadun fi shaitan, because that comes. Min can come in the form of fi all the time in Arabic, right? So it's a portion for shaitan, okay? A portion for shaitan. Portion of what? His portion of mercy for the shaitan, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ was sent as mercy for all worlds. And his mercy is so great that he even has mercy for shaitan. So as a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took this portion of mercy away from him. Okay? Because you cannot have mercy towards shaitan. Um, then another time, his chest was split open when he was about 10 years old. I forgot the circumstances around that. If anyone remembers, you can mention it. Then his chest is split open before the revelation. Okay, before the revelation, he's walking in the streets. There's no one there, and two men come out of nowhere and sort of, he falls down asleep and they split his chest open and cleanse his heart. Okay? And for the revelation, we can sort of understand why that now this revelation is going to descend on him. His heart needs to be purified. And then finally, during the Isra wal Mi'raj, okay? So before he's about to go on this journey, this incident happens. And then the Prophet ﷺ, uh, he mounts this animal. It's just a white horse, right? This is the most authentic thing that we know about the Buraq. It's simply a white horse, right? So if you looked at it, it would just be like, Gandalf's horse from Lord of the Rings or something of this nature, right? Just a white horse, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said that when he was riding it, the Buraq, it would place its hooves, right? It would point its hooves towards a direction, and space would fold, and they would be immediately there, right? I mean, subhanallah, like whenever you guys ever watch Star Wars, like the hyper jump,
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
hyperspace, right? I mean, who can describe something like this, right? So we know there's some type of reality to this. It's possible that the Burak is some type of, I don't know,
Vehicle.
scientists, yeah, like some type of extra dimensional creature that is able to do this, right? And now we have many like cosmologists, like they talk about level five civilizations, right? So a level five civilization is a civilization that works in the fourth dimension. So we live in the third dimension. There could be, they're speculating, right? They speculate everything except for the existence of God, right? Everything's possible except for a creator to this universe. They can never accept that. So they'll say there are level five civilizations. Yeah, just like in Interstellar, right? The people in Interstellar were like they were controlling the black hole and so on and so forth, right? Yeah. So in these civilizations, they have control over the four dimensions. So now, if you had control over the four dimensions, this is exactly what would happen. You could look at a person, you could look at their past, you could dissect them, you could see inside them, you can see outside them, you could do all sorts of things. Okay. You could speed up time, you could slow down time. So and then you could fold space, right? Because space time, these are the four dimensions. You could fold space. You could go to different points in space, however you want. So this Burak, this horse, the Prophet said it would place its hooves on the horizon and the space would fold, right? Tawa al-ard, literally the folding of the earth, and then we would be there. Okay, in the blink of an eye. Okay, so this is the type of creature that we're talking about.
So
And
essentially
so
like traveling like speed of light.
basically, yeah, basically, yeah, speed of light. And it's really interesting because if you were to travel faster than the speed of light, you would not literally travel at the speed of light. You can't, because if you travel at the speed of light, you'd disappear. You'd become light. Okay. So, and there's no way to, how would you come out of that? So the only solution that we know of where you can travel faster than the speed of light and get to your destination is if instead of traveling, right, like going, A to Z, you fold space to make the distance shorter, right? Because space time is like, imagine it's like water, like a tarp, right? And you can like fold it and bend it and whatever you want. So if you can, like, let's say distance from A to B is, I don't know, 600 million light years. If we could somehow fold this distance, right? Shrink this distance to, I don't know, 5 kilometers. Now we can like go at a regular speed and still make it to the other side. So one of the things that does that are black holes, right? Black holes are like interdimensional portals, right? They let's say, like, there's it punches through space and goes to some other side. We don't know where it goes, right? And if we have some type of technology to do that, we can actually fold the space around us. But unfortunately, the amount of energy that you would need to do that is like the energy of a star. Okay. So they have a conceptual spaceship where it absorbs all the energy of the sun, and then it can like, fold space around it and go to another galaxy. But there's a slight disadvantage to absorbing the entire sun, right? We'd all die. Right. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, as he's traveling this fast and he's going towards Jerusalem, the Prophet ﷺ notices things around him. Okay, he's sort of noticing different realities around him. And this is because the Prophet ﷺ had the sharpest vision of any human being, right? He had the sharpest vision of any human being. And he could focus on things that are sort of a level of focus that was otherworldly. Okay, and one of the proofs of this is the amount of companions, the number of companions that he had, thousands, right? Hundreds. He'd be dealing with hundreds of people. But then if somebody didn't show up to the masjid, right? They were absent for, let's say, 1 or 2 days. He would ask about them. He's like, "What happened to this guy? Is he okay?" Like, uh, it could be the most random person, right? So an example of that was, remember, the masjid sweeper, the masjid cleaner. She's sort of away from the sights of everyone else. She doesn't show up for a couple of days. The Prophet's like, "What happened to her?" Okay. Uh, so the Prophet notices Musa alayhi salam, they pass by the grave of Musa alayhi salam, and they notice Musa alayhi salam praying in his grave. So this is obviously a different, he's seeing maybe into a different dimension, because we'll see that Musa alayhi salam, he meets him again in one of the heavens. Okay. And this is also the proof that prophets are alive in their graves. The prophets, they have a form of life. It's not the life that you and I have, but it's a type of perception, right? A heightened perception that they have in their graves, right? And they're experiencing that life in this realm of barzakh, this intermediary realm between our world and the hereafter. Okay. Okay. So the Prophet goes to Jerusalem, and he leads the prophets and the angels in prayer. And this is sort of signifying that he's the last prophet, the final prophet. And then the Mi'raj begins, right? The Mi'raj is the ascent through the cosmos. And in each heaven, there are seven heavens, and according to Islamic cosmology, he ascends through each heaven. And in each heaven, he meets a prophet that is relevant to his seerah. Okay, the Prophet doesn't meet Ismail alayhi salam. He doesn't meet Yaqub. He doesn't meet Nuh alayhi salam, right? The only prophets that he meets, and this shows you the depth of the story of the Isra, is he meets prophets that have some type of similarity to his situation. Because remember, the point of the Isra is to console the Prophet ﷺ, and to settle his heart so that he has the energy to, because what's going to happen next is it's awful. His people are going to kick him out. They're going to try to kill him. It's going to be awful. He's going to do the hijrah. They're going to be hunting for him. He's going to go to Medina. There's going to be battles. There's going to be war. His companions are going to die, right? Family members are going to die. They're going to be killed. The life does not get easy for the Prophet ﷺ after the Isra wal Mi'raj. So what Allah wants to do is to give him something to console him, to increase his yaqeen, to give him the strength to be able to handle the rest of his life, the rest of his mission, right? So the prophets that he meets fulfill this purpose. Okay. So what are these heavens? Now, what it seems to be is that these heavens are various, like, universes, okay, or levels of reality that surround our own universe. Okay, so there's a famous hadith where the Prophet tells us that the first heaven, sama ad-dunya, okay, that's the lowest heaven, the first heaven, which is our heaven, the observable universe, in comparison to the second heaven, how big is it? It's like a ring that you threw into a desert. Okay. So all of the observable universe, 93 billion light years in diameter, right? Just the observable part. We don't even know how big the unobservable part is, right? With what is it? I think 2 trillion galaxies. I mean, can you imagine that number? 2 trillion galaxies, not stars, galaxies. Each galaxy has like a trillion stars. It's like mind-boggling. So this universe, in comparison to the second universe, is like a ring that you threw into a desert, right? It's so huge. It's impossible to even imagine. And the second universe, in comparison to the third, is like a ring that you threw into the desert, right? And the Prophet goes on and on and on. And he says that all seven universes, all seven heavens, in comparison to the size of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which encompasses everything, is like a ring that you threw into the desert. Okay. So it seems like these heavens are like different levels of reality above our own. And ours is like the lowest one, the one at the center, right? From which we ascend. Okay. And this is not a literal, upward ascension, because remember we said in in um in space there is no direction, right? I mean, are you going up, right, down? There is no direction. It's like you're going out of the universe itself. Okay. And one of the creatures that Allah's created that can do this are angels. Angels regularly travel between these universes. How are they doing it? How is it possible? Who knows, right? Some type of dimensional portals, because there's no way that you can actually travel or traverse the length of the universe with our current technology. We can't even get to the nearest star, right? It would take many, many light years. Okay. So how are they doing it? Who knows? Allahu alam. If you believe some of the Sufis, they seem to have figured out how to travel between these different dimensions, right? If you believe what they say, not the Sufis and like, these people in Pakistan that make up stuff or whatever, but um, I don't know. Some people seem to have figured out some type of spiritual way of traveling these dimensions through their dreams or whatever it may be, but Allahu alam. We're miskeen. We only have the earth. Okay, so we just need to be satisfied with the earth. Um, so each of these heavens, right? Um, another person who can travel, I think maybe just in the second heaven is Khidr alayhi salam. Khidr alayhi salam. So some people say Khidr is an angel because of this, because he's able to do things that a human being wouldn't be able to do. Like, how do you go and kill a child? Because he's going to become evil. Would it be okay for a human being? Like, let's say you knew for sure this child is going to be evil. Would it be okay for a human being to go and kill that child?
No.
No, it wouldn't. It'd still be haram, right? Because you can only judge a person with a crime, right? The Sharia only judges people for outward crimes. So how is it possible that Khidr alayhi salam is able to do that? So this is why some people have said that he might be actually an angel, right? A special type of angel. Um, uh, but it seems he's like a person, like a spiritual person that has ascended to a different degree, like in the internal sciences, and he's given access to certain powers. Allahu alam, right? But he can travel between some of these realms. So each heaven is made up of some base matter. So the Prophet describes how like the second heaven is the heaven of copper, and the third heaven is the heaven of um, like gold or silver, and he mentions these different elements. And he says our heaven is the heaven of soil and water, right? So it seems that I mean this makes sense because we have in our heaven we have like fundamental particles. Okay. So the galaxies, stars, planets, Earths, all these things, they're made up of some fundamental elements, right? Like hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, which is very rare. What else do we have? Like carbon, right? So there are some fundamental things that make up our galaxy and our reality. So it's possible that there's a different type of universe in which like there are different elements, right? There are different base elements, and that could lead to different laws. Who knows? Allahu alam, right? This is fascinating stuff that physics is working on. And then as the Prophet ascends through the heavens, he reaches the boundary of reality. So this is the boundary of, remember we talked about the awalim, right? This is the boundary of alam al-mulk. It's the entire boundary. And now you're getting into the alam al-malakut. And there could be many, many different realms here, right? That we don't know about. Um, so he goes to the boundary of reality called Sidratul Muntaha. It's the great lote tree, right? It's this amazing tree with these different spectrums of colors, and the Prophet says its leaves are like the size of the ears of elephants. And mind you, in this authentic hadith, the Prophet never saw an elephant, right? So, but then, Allah could have showed him an elephant. I mean, if Allah could show him the seven heavens, how would he not see an elephant, right? Um, and so on and so forth, right? And at this boundary of reality, to go past it, no angel is able to go past it. Nothing is able to go past it. And the Prophet ﷺ is able to go past. Now, uh, Ibn Arabi, he observes in Futuhat al-Makkiyah, and remember we said Ibn Arabi, rahimahullah, is a controversial figure, right? I'm not saying he's not controversial, but his Futuhat al-Makkiyah has been accepted by a large number of scholars for the insights into these matters of belief, right? He finds very interesting interpretations that are spiritual and so on and so forth. But I think I wanted to mention this because it's very nice, I thought. He says that anything that tries to go past the boundary of reality, it will become annihilated. Why? Because the to pass away from alam al-mulk, you're going into now the realm of the divine. You're going into the realm of the divine presence. Okay? And in the realm of the divine presence, it's completely, absolutely unlike created things. So when you have completely uncreated eternal realm, and then you have created, boom, the created just disappears. It gets annihilated. So how is it the Prophet ﷺ is able to pass through? The answer to this is because the Prophet ﷺ is the perfect mirror. He's the perfect mirror of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes. He's the insan kamil. And because he's the perfect mirror, because he reflects all of the divine names in the most perfect way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him to be, he is given access to this throne, right? And it does not annihilate him, it does not burn him. Okay? And so many of the scholars said that if you don't want to be annihilated on the day of judgment, right, with the hellfire and so on and so forth, the closer you are to the Prophet ﷺ, the more you will be protected. Because this is one of the insights. So, and this incident shows us that the Prophet ﷺ is greater than Jibril alayhi salam. There's a debate. Is the Prophet ﷺ greater, or is Jibril alayhi salam greater than the Prophet? This definitively shows us that the Prophet ﷺ is the greatest creation to ever be created in any universe, in any time frame, in any type of setting. The Prophet ﷺ is Sayyidul Kawnain. He is the Sayyid, the master of the two worlds, of jinn and of men. He is at the head. And this is what shows us that he's able to pass through Sidratul Muntaha, this final point, this final boundary, right? Okay, so now let's look at some of the incidents that happened during his ascent through the cosmos. So the Prophet you can see here in this picture, they drew the face of the Prophet. So I guess they were a bit lax on that issue, but I mean, so I blurted out, but I don't think anyone would be confusing this for the Prophet because all of their faces look the same. So I'm not sure how they whenever they draw these things, you see how like the face of the Burak and all these three people, they look exactly the same, right? But yeah, I blurted it out. But this is like a classical manuscript thing. I think this was done in the 19th century by Ottoman calligraphers that as like a celebration of the Mi'raj or something of that nature. Um but the colors are nice, the gold leaf and so on. It's an interesting thing to look at. But anyway, the Prophet meets Isa alayhi salam in the second heaven. And there's a lot of similarity or let's say appropriateness to meet Isa alayhi salam. And one of the biggest reasons is that Isa alayhi salam, him coming back is one of the signs of the last day. It's actually here when the Prophet meets him in the second heaven, Isa alayhi salam tells him that when I come back, right, the sign of the hour is that I will come back. I will come back. Um, And then the Isa alayhi salam also tells him about how he will kill the Dajjal outside of Baitul Maqdis, and then the Dajjal is one-eyed and kafir is written on his head, and all this stuff about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And then here, I think this is actually the picture, right? The angels bring him two containers as a test, right? One bowl has wine, the other bowl has milk. And the angel says that drink. Choose one of these. You're free to basically drink one of these, whichever one you want. I mean, it's not earth, right? So you would be able to drink wine. Um, so pick one of these, and based on your choice, it will have implications for this ummah. And so the Prophet ﷺ chooses milk instead of the wine, right? And you can see how milk is a natural food. It's given to us from nature. It's given to us from the animal. There's a type of harmony with nature that's being presented to us here, and how the deen of the Prophet ﷺ is the deen of fitra, is the deen of the primordial man, of a deen that attracts people from their very conscience, right? Whereas Christianity chose the wine, right? What do you guys what do Christians do in the Eucharist? Do you guys know?
What do they do?
Yeah, they do it. There's a ceremony, right?
The Sunday Mass. The bread is the
Yes.
body of Christ. The wine is the blood of Christ,
Yes,
and that
exactly.
sort of thing.
Yep. And so Christianity chose wine, right? The a sort of
Oh,
unnatural, right? And in this choice, the Protestant chose milk, and the Christians chose wine. This sort of unnatural substance, because wine is an unnatural substance. You'd have to actually make an effort to make it, right? By rotting grapes and so on and so forth. And so we see that in the Eucharist, where they actually drink the wine as part of their service, right? The Prophet also meets Yahya alayhi salam. And the parallel to this is Yahya alayhi salam was killed by his own people. And this is there's some comparison here, because the Prophet ﷺ, there were 13 assassination attempts on his life, and many of them were by his own people, his uncles, the people that he grew up with, right? The people that actually loved him, and now they turned against him. The Prophet ﷺ meets Yusuf alayhi salam, and this is also relevant because Yusuf alayhi salam is persecuted by his family. His family is the one his brothers are the ones who threw him into the well, and Yusuf alayhi salam has to find the strength now at the end of his life to forgive his brothers, right? And this is exactly what the Prophet ﷺ does when he comes into Mecca. He actually quotes the verse from Surah Yusuf, that when the Meccans they're coming, they're like, please don't fight us, don't steal our, don't take our stuff. I know you conquered Mecca, treat us nicely, akhun kareem, a noble brother, min akhin kareem, from noble brothers, so please treat us nobly. How can they say this when for almost 23 years, for 20 years, they're persecuting the Prophet, they're killing his companions, right? They're making his life miserable. Yet the Prophet, what does he say? La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. He actually quotes directly from Surah Yusuf that there's no fault on you this day. So the Prophet forgives his people in the same way that Yusuf forgave his family. And then in I believe the fifth heaven, the Prophet ﷺ meets Musa alayhi salam. And this is the most relevant prophet to the Prophet ﷺ, because Musa alayhi salam is the prophet that is absolutely like the Prophet ﷺ, very similar. Okay? Because Musa alayhi salam is in charge of an ummah. He's a warrior prophet. He's a prophet king. So he rules the Israelites. He's a prophet of law. He brings a sharia. He's giving laws. He's creating institutions, right? All of these different things. So um, yeah. So and then Musa alayhi salam is also uncompromising. He refused to fashion an idol for his people, and so his people, they didn't like him for this. And the same thing with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was uncompromising with Tawheed. And it's Musa alayhi salam actually who convinces the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to go revisit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to go past Sidratul Muntaha, to do all the thing again, and to do it several times in order to lower the number of times that we have to pray, right? The initial, how was the initial obligation when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to pray? Anyone know?
Was it 50?
50, right? 50
Yeah.
times a day, right? 50 times a day. I mean, you could do it somehow. I don't know how you would do it, but yeah, 50 times a day. Musa alayhi salam tells the Prophet, look, you messed up. There's no way anyone in your ummah is going to pray 50 times a day. I know, I dealt with these people, right? So Musa alayhi salam advises him to go back to Allah, to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lower this number, right? And he keeps going back. He comes back 45, comes back 30, comes back 20. Musa Musa's like, no, 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 no. You have to go back. You have to go back. And finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets it as five times a day. And Musa salam, what does he do?
Try to send him back.
Yeah, he's like, they can't do 5 times a day. I'm telling you. SubhanAllah, how right he was, right? So many
Yeah.
Muslims don't pray 5 times a day, SubhanAllah. The Prophet's like, look, I've went so much to Allah that now I feel embarrassed. I feel shy. I don't want to go back. Okay. So the number of prayers, it's set to 5. At the beginning of Islam, the number of prayers were, I believe, 2, right? It was just 2 prayers. And there were 2 rakats, if I remember correctly. Okay. So let's talk about this boundary of existence and also Jannah. Oh man, we only got 6 minutes. Okay. We won't get to angels then. So when the Prophet goes to Sidratul Muntaha, this lote tree at the end of existence, we don't really understand what. Remember, part of this is in, right? These higher realms are infused with Alam al-Amr, the realm of spiritual entities and meanings. So what the process of seeing in some of these realms is sort of undescribable in like it's not something that you would see in our realm, right? So it's very difficult to even describe what he's seeing. So it's possible that he's giving us what is like a closest possible picture, if that makes sense, right? Because these are higher realms that we like. For example, when the Prophet says the second heaven is made up of copper, like okay, what does that mean exactly, right? It could mean maybe some of the fundamental particles are something similar to copper or something like this, right? But these higher realms are so different to our own that we can't really understand. So he's trying to give us a sort of a picture, like a surah, right? So in Sidratul Muntaha, the Prophet sees 4 rivers, and he sees that 2 of these rivers flow into the world, and 2 of these rivers are hidden in Jannah. And the Nile and the Euphrates flow into the world. So it seems that this is a proof that all the 7 realms are somehow connected. Okay? All the 7 heavens are somehow connected. Remember, Sidratul Muntaha is at the edge of existence. It's near the Arsh. The Arsh encompasses everything. Okay? The Arsh of Allah, the throne of Allah, it's like a boundary of all reality. Okay, it's the largest structure that's ever possible. It's even bigger than the seven heavens. Okay, so but that there's some river that's coming from Sidratul Muntaha and it's flowing into our world. So there's some connection between all these different realms. Does that make sense? There's some there's some connections. It's not like distance, like, oh, I can never visit the Andromeda galaxy because it's like 600,000 miles light years away. Actually, there could be some type of connection with our world and the Andromeda galaxy. There could be some type of instantaneous connection. We just don't know it, right? Every single thing is connected. So Jannah is adjacent to this boundary of creation near Sidratul Muntaha in the seventh heaven. And we get this from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Najm, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى عِنْدَ سِدْرَةِ الْمُنْتَهَى عِنْدَهَا جَنَّةُ الْمَأْوَى. So we saw him again at Sidratul Muntaha. This is talking about Mi'raj, remember? عِنْدَهَا, near it, is Jannatul Ma'wa. Is this Jannah called Al-Ma'wa. And from our belief, Jannah and Jahannam exists right now, right? It's existing as we speak. So they've been created, they're existing, and they're ready to be used, basically, right? And the Prophet describes Jannah in a very beautiful hadith where he says, فيها ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. That in it are things that no eyes has ever seen and no ears have ever heard, and it doesn't even come into the minds of people. It's impossible to be even thought of, right? ثم قرأ, and then the Prophet he recited these verses from the Quran. تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Uh, that the believers, they تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع, that at the dead of night, that they basically forsake their beds and they stand to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala khawfan, out of fear and desire. And what are they desiring? مما رزقناهم ينفقون. This Jannah, these things that will be given to them in the afterlife, right? فلا تعلم نفس ما أخفي لهم من قرة أعين. And no soul knows what Allah has hidden in this Jannah uh, from its pleasures, right? And actually, the word Jannah, right? Jannah means a place that's hidden by trees. It's hidden by vegetation. So you can imagine a classical garden. When you're looking at it from the outside, you can't see inside. It's a private space. There's something hidden there that's so beautiful, so amazing, and it's covered by the shade of trees. So this is what the word Jannah actually means. Are there more than one Jannah? What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah, there's many Jannat, Jinan, right? Jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. Rivers that flow, gardens, plural, beneath which rivers flow. Okay. So there are different levels of Jannah, different types of Jannah, many levels of Jannah. And the highest level of Jannah is Jannatul Firdaus. Jannatul Firdaus is near the Arsh. Near the Arsh. Remember, we said the Arsh is the largest structure in existence. So this would be past the seven heavens, past Sidratul Muntaha, somewhere there's, sorry, not past, adjacent to Sidratul Muntaha, somewhere there's this Jannatul Firdaus, right? And that Jannatul Firdaus, remember, it's near the Arsh. After the Arsh, uh, what is there? After the Arsh is the realm of the divine presence. Okay? So this is why the people of Jannatul Firdaus are the ones who see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. Right? Everyone else sees Allah, of course, but I believe it's only on Fridays in Jannah, right? But the people in Jannatul Firdaus are always in communion with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the delights of Jannah. So one of the delights of Jannah for men is Hurul Ain, the pure maidens. Okay? And this is something that I know like these days people find controversial because one thing that they'll say is, well, why doesn't the Quran mention Similar things for women, right? Like, why don't the women get, I don't know, manservants or something like that, right? Um, well, one of the things that we notice in the Quran is that whenever a high reward is mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is vague. He's vague or he alludes to it. For example, what is the greatest reward in Jannah? Anyone?
Seeing Allah's face.
Seeing Allah's face, not Hurul Ain, seeing Allah's face. So how does Allah talk about that? He says, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى. Whoever does good, they'll get good. And then, وَزِيَادَةً. And something more, something a little bit more. Now, this is the greatest reward in Jannah. How is Allah describing it? Oh, it's a little bit more. So, they'll get everything that they want and they'll get a tiny bit more, right? They'll get something special, something extra, some salt on the food. Seems to be the way that the ayah is like speaking. So this is out of the literary style of the Quran, right? So you have to look at the hints in the Quran to see the type of reward that women will get in Jannah, right? And we know that women will get whatever they want as well, right? And the proof of this is that one of the special things we find in the Quran is that regular women are directly mentioned in the Quran, like regular people, not prophets, not like wise men or anything like that. For example, in Surah Mumtahina, Allah reveals the surah, He reveals ayat responding to a female Sahabi, right? قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا, and so on and so forth. That Allah has heard the complaint of this woman, so on and so forth. So, or the wife of Pharaoh. The wife of Pharaoh, she faces death at the hands of Pharaoh because she won't leave her belief, and Allah quotes her dua in Surah Al-Tahrim, right? Um, oh Allah, uh, give me a house in Jannah, specifically for me, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quotes her dua in Surah Tahrim. And so this is what we notice in the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions regular women in the Quran, which is something very special, a special honor. So women will get, something appropriate to them, something that their hearts desire as well. But for men are motivated by being explicit about things, right? If you tell a man, I'll give you $300, do this thing for me, a man will jump up and do it, right? And so out of the wisdom of the Quran, the Quran is giving these descriptions. Okay. Um, uh, the second thing is that people will get gardens the size of 7 earths. I mean, you will basically get your own type of kingdom, and people will be served by the vegetation, like trees will actually come and serve its fruits to you. And there will be, palaces, and in these palaces, today, if we look at these royal dinners, Donald Trump is holding or whatever in his ballroom, and whatever these parties with expert Michelin star chefs that none of us, or us regular people, will ever sort of experience in our lifetime, right? And these are sort of the made up royalty luxury of human beings. What will be the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is something we should think about. If the highest level of service we can get in this world is a 5-star hotel, Hilton, Michelin star, valet parking, this and that, what will be the service, right? What will be the star level of Allah's service, the creator of the heavens and the earth? So this is what we're going to get in Jannah, right? It's much more than 5 stars. And one of the things that Allah mentions, one of the greatest joys of Jannah, is that people will be sitting, right, lounging, in lounge, sitting on brocade, right, and discussing, talking with each other, enjoying each other's company, right, chilling. That would be a better word, right? You would be chilling with your boys, enjoying, right, in whatever you're trying to do. That this is one of the greatest delights of Jannah. right? متكئين على فرشهم. I'm forgetting the verse from Surah Al-Rahman, but it's in Surah Al-Rahman. It's very beautiful. Rivers of milk, wine, and honey. So many, many things, right? Now, Jannah, there's no way for us to imagine. These are simply words. In the same way that, for example, we use apple for apple, and then we say Korean apple. The Korean apple tastes completely different, right? We say it's Korean apple because it sort of kind of looks like an apple with some type of round, sort of simple texture, right? But it tastes completely different. Same thing with Jannah. Same thing with Jannah. These hurul ain that we're talking about, you could imagine them in your head, but when in Jannah, they'll be completely different. There'll be something you could never even expect. Same thing with the vegetation, the fruits, the rivers of milk, wine, and honey, the palaces of gold and silver held together by musk. I mean, these are simply words that we're using, right? Which is why the Prophet says that fiha ma la aynun ra'at, that in it are things that the eyes have never seen. Okay. So, and why is this? It's because Jannah is at the boundary of khalq. Remember, the alam al khalq, the world in which Allah has created from matter and in time and space, and the alam al amr, right? So maybe in Jannah there are many different types of things that are created from Allah's amr. What we know is the soul. The soul is from Allah's amr. In Jannah there could be many other things, and maybe we can even see the malakut. So there's a entirely different experience that it's impossible to describe in our day-to-day experience, right? And of course, the Prophet ﷺ is shown the punishment of Jahannam. And what we find in Jahannam is that, I mean, Jahannam is awful, right? Um, and it's important for us to be, scared of Jahannam and to see like all of the awful things that are being there, right? Um, the Prophet ﷺ, he's shown the punishments of Jahannam, and he's shown that people will be punished according to their sins. So the type of sin that they committed corresponds to a type of punishment in Jahannam. Okay. And some of these things, for example, the adulterers, the people that engaged in zina, they were serial zaniyun, that they're being roasted in a giant oven. They're trying to escape. You see that in the picture, right? People with giant bellies in which there were snakes, so they're being bitten from the inside with these snakes, that these are the people that consume riba, that consume usury, right? And we see this uh and we see like this is a very dangerous thing, and many people in the modern world that have gotten rich off of riba and usury and oppressing people through this type of thing, they will get this type of punishment, right? People's lips being cut with scissors, right? People, their lips are being cut with scissors over and over again. Their lips regenerate and they're cut. These are the false preachers, right? The false scholars, the false preachers, the ones who gave speeches and said whatever they wanted to get some money or fame or whatever it is. And in their private life, they don't follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? There's a realm of piercing cold, okay, zamharir, a realm in which the punishment isn't with fire, the punishment is with ice, right? A cold that pierces the flesh. It's really funny because all of these things Dante includes in his Inferno, right? It just shows you like he's just lifting things from the Sirah, right? So, and then what we find in Jahannam is this al jaza'u min jinsil amal, that the type of punishment that a person gets, it fits their crime. Okay. And there are also levels of Jahannam. And the worst level of Jahannam is the realm of black fire. The fire is so hot. You know, like when a fire is really hot, it turns blue, right? But then a fire reaches a level of hotness in which the Prophet tells us it turns black, right? And so as the further deep down you go into Jahannam, uh, the blacker the fire turns. And so there's this realm in which it's just absolute piercing black fire.
And this lowest realm is for the munafiqun, the hypocrites, right? The duplicitous hypocrites, they pretended to be Muslim to sabotage the Muslims and so on and so forth. That's their realm. Okay. So Jahannam is a very frightening place. And finally, the Prophet ﷺ sees Allah on the night of Mi'raj. He sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He goes into this realm of the divine presence, right? The realm of the divine attributes, the realm of the divine essence. And he's able to gaze on and converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that we don't understand. Which is why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this meeting, Allah is vague. Allah says, فَأَوْحَى إِلَى عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. That Allah revealed to a servant what he revealed. Ma. Ma is general, right? And he keeps this vague, he keeps this a secret, and he doesn't explain to us, right? Because this is, like we said last time, this vision is something that's incomprehensible. Okay, so that's the Mi'raj. And the Prophet comes back, obviously. And, he's, now he has the prayer, he has the salah, he has the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is going to benefit his ummah in the future. Okay, and so I think we should stop there. Let's just finish this part here, the throne and the footstool. So as we said, right, the throne is a structure, some type of existent thing like our universe that covers all the 7 universes, right? So you can imagine how insanely huge that this thing is, right? That it encompasses وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. That the kursi, just the footstool, right? It's not really a footstool. I mean, it's not a literal footstool, right? But this footstool, the kursi, covers the 7 heavens. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And then the throne covers the kursi. So the throne is this final structure that covers all of existence. It's at the entire boundary of existence. Okay? And this boundary that I'm talking about is simply a conceptual boundary, not a physical boundary, right? If we go looking for the throne using a spaceship, I mean, we can't even exit our universe. How are we gonna go look for the throne in the 7th universe, right? So is it even possible to see the throne? Who knows, right? As a human being, as us, right? Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to understand what these things are. Okay. So yeah, I kept you long. I know there's a lot of material, especially with Isra wal Mi'raj, but inshallah next time we'll discuss angels, death, and many other things. The Day of Judgment, Shafa, all those things. So inshallah, I'll see you guys next week. Sorry for keeping you guys too long.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa